Hello and welcome to another live stream of The Ordinary Filmmaker. This week we've had a fair bit of news and we've also had some rumor updates. So we're going to start off by talking a little bit about a video I put out just a couple of days ago. And this video was on the camera market. I posted a poll. Let's see if I can find this poll here. I posted a poll asking people excuse me, which camera company they thought might get into trouble. And surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, everybody figured, yes, it's going to be Nikon. So here we are. Which camera company will be the first to merge or file into bankruptcy? Excuse me. Sorry, give me a second. Overwhelmingly, 57% of you thought, yep, Nikon's going to be the first company that's either going to file for bankruptcy or merge. Now, Nikon, like a lot of these companies, do have other lines, but Nikon focuses primarily on imaging. Canon, Panasonic, Fuji, and Sony, these are much bigger companies. And Panasonic, which came in second at 18%, I would say is probably the least likely to have to worry about anything at all. Panasonic is a very, very large company. They've got a lot of different divisions. So does Sony. So these companies are less likely to suffer trouble. But that brought me to something else. I came across this really, really interesting chart. So I created a video, and the video was about the overall market, digital camera market. But I also looked at the Japanese economy, and the Japanese economy entered a recession in around 1990, late 80s. The same time the US, Europe, pretty well the whole world entered a recession. But Japan has never recovered from that. I kid you not, if you go look at the news, go to Wiki, YouTube, wherever, you'll find out that the Japanese economy is still stagnating to this day. They are not growing at all. And in real numbers, you could actually say that the Japanese market is actually contracting. So this is a very, very tough place to do business. It's tough to raise capital. And you've got all these large camera companies that are in a declining market worldwide. So they're really in a tough situation. So it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strategic thinking to come up with a plan. We'll complain about this camera doesn't work very well for us, or Sony's asleep at the wheel, or Panasonic, why are they doing this? But it's a lot harder. They've got limited dollars like anybody. How do they innovate? Or they've innovated for a few years like Canon did, and Nikon did the same thing even before Canon. They'll innovate for a few years, then they'll take a break and they'll just try and recoup their money off their investment without having to do much of anything, which I think a lot of us would agree that Canon's done over the last few years. I see we've got a good number of people streaming right now, so I just want to say thank you. Welcome to my live stream. This is not the most professional stream, I'm afraid. My regular videos are a whole lot better. That's in the studio over here, aka my basement. And this area here, I'm just literally using the webcam. So lighting is not as good. But I'm trying to get good at this. Like with my videos, I've done over 60 videos, if you can believe it. I've been my channel's been up for 3 months and a week, and I've done 60 videos. I've only done 4 videos streaming, so it's going to take me a bit of time to work this out, fix it out, and all that sort of stuff. So thank you very much for streaming. I also want to let you guys know I do pay attention to the chat. So even though I'm talking, I'm going through different segments. Drop your questions. I will respond. I also have Super Chat. That's there in case you want to help support this channel. You don't have to. Regular chat, I'll respond just as well. So looking back at the market, the market has been in decline. I want to show you an image here. I want to show you an image that I put in that video. And let's see, what is the name of that video that I put out? Let's take a quick look here. I think it was just 3 or 4 days ago. I've got the worst memory in the world. I'm almost 50, so that shouldn't be any surprise why my memory's starting to go. The video was released last week on February the 7th, so just 2 days ago, and I can't remember what day I did it. So in that video, I talked about there being a market decline. Overall, the Japanese economy where that's suffering. So essentially since 2011, in my description I said since 2011, the camera market has been in free fall. It's a tenth of its former size. And you'll see a lot of people put this graphic out there, and it's misleading, and I'm going to show you that. It doesn't tell the true story. So if you take a look at this image here, look at that. 2011, 2010, it was at its peak. And actually from 2007 to 2011, things look pretty good. But take a closer look at this image here. See all that stuff in blue? All that information in blue? Those are cameras like the Fujifilm X100V. It's where you have the camera and the lens as a single manufactured piece of equipment. So look at that. Look at that there. Now, if I remove that information, because this is all those point and click cameras, if I remove that and just look at DSLRs and mirrorless, we've got a completely different story here. The market actually peaked in 2012, not 2012. That's a long way away. Look at that. A very, very different story. And I was able to just populate 2018 and 2019. My video didn't have that information. So it's still declining. It's still a shadow of its former self. It's about a third if we look at DSLR and mirrorless versus if we look at 2019 compared to what 2010, it's almost a tenth of what it was. But that's still lost revenue. But in terms of the DSLR, things are still dramatically coming down. And what Canon has said that they believe the market's going to stabilize. Are you ready for this? Around 5 to 6 million units a year. Okay, let's take a look at this again. That's almost kind of what we had in 2019, isn't it? Now this information is coming from SEPA. I didn't rip this off from anybody else. I didn't just kind of make this stuff up. Business Insider had some information too, but they didn't have the complete information, so I went directly to SEPA, got this information, and I think my chart's pretty accurate in how it looks and it's set up. So there's that information. So watch that video. It's very interesting. I go into a lot of information. There's no rumor topic in there. It's pretty much a research piece. And I do talk to some things such as, look at Sony, for example. Since 2015, has Sony been revolutionary in what they've been doing? I would say when they came out with the A7 or the A Alpha series, every different model was a jump ahead of what it was before. They were really innovating. They were doing revolutionary stuff. And since, some would say since 2015, but I would say since 2017, yeah, sure, the A7 IV is nice, but is it that big of an improvement over the A7 III? And I was kind of tongue-in-cheek. I said, well, happy birthday to the A7S III. The A7S III, it's been 5 years since the A7S II, so where the heck is that camera? Where is it? Right? And that's probably what Sony's doing now, is they're relaxing a little bit. They've done really, really well. They're one of the top sellers. Some would say they're ahead of Canon. I would say they're behind Canon. I say Canon is still number one in market share worldwide, followed by Sony. So Sony's come a long way. But still, if and they've said it in their quotes. If you look at the quotes, they've said, look, we're not 4K 60, 10-bit 422 is easy to do. But we're listening to our customers. We want to do something different. We want to produce the best at what we can do. Well, geez, 5 years? Computers double in technology every 18 months to 2 years. Smartphones, a new model every year, and they can be dramatically different in 2 years. So here we have 5 years without an update. And the latest rumors, and I don't really necessarily trust these rumors, but the latest rumors say it's going to be in the fall. And we don't know. There's virtually nothing coming out of the rumors other than pure conjecture and speculation on Sony. Sony's done a very good job, and Panasonic have done a very good job of keeping things tight-lipped. Let's take a look at some comments here. I would like to discuss the 5D Mark V. We'll get to that shortly. I've got sponsored by both Canon and Panasonic. I have to choose one as they are competitors. Which one should I choose for shooting video? All will be green screen video shoots. Well, I think I can tell you this, and I think this is to be pretty fair. If you're doing green screen, that means you're on a tripod. You really don't have to worry about focus so much. You can do manual focus pulls, and let me know if that is true, because both are going to produce really, really good results. And I also want to know, when are you looking at purchasing this? That's also very important too, because if you can wait a few months, I'd really wait to see what the market comes out with. These rumored R6 and R5 cameras, based on a video I put out yesterday, and this video is doing very, very well right now. Canon Rumors got a video and a photo. And no, we can't see the video and the photo, but Craig over at Canon Rumors, who runs the site, I spoke with him, and he said, you know, it looks amazing. The IBIS looks incredible. The R5 is real. The R6 is real. So these are no longer, as far as, and I trust Craig. Craig's been around a long time, and he does his best to validate sources and everything. So look, we're going to get the R5. We're going to get the R6. And Jane, your 5D Mark V is supposed to come out in the fall, but I would watch these two cameras because, let's be honest with each other here. The RF mount is Canon's future. The RF mount is incredible. The glass that's coming out of this mount is incredible. The bodies that we have today for the RF system, they're not even truly tapping what these lenses can produce. So if you're thinking about the 5D Mark V, what you really need to consider is the mirrorless equivalent, which I believe is going to be the R6. Look at the specs. That's 4K 60, 14 frames per second mechanical, 20 frames per second electronic. This seems like it would be the mirrorless equivalent of what the 5D Mark V would be, and I have no specs for it. But look at the 5D Mark IV. Look what it's got and what you would expect it to have today. And I really think the R6 is aimed at that market segment. I just hope it's not aimed at the same price. I'd really love to see them put it at around the price point of the EOS R when it came out at $2,300 versus, I think it was $3,500 for the 5D Mark IV. But pricing, well, let's just not worry about that. If it's $3,500, I'll probably still get it. And I know that's a lot of money for the ordinary filmmaker. That just means I can't get the 15 to 35. But I've been doing this for 7 years. So for me, that's the next step. For a lot of you, that's a tough call unless you're making money off this. So I would really look at that, because now you've got the new RF mount. You can tap into all that new development that Canon's going to be doing. And all your EF lenses, for a simple adapter, you can bring those over. So Jane, that's what I'd be looking at. Now back to Marlography. Which one to get? If I were you, I'd want to see what's happening with these R6s and R5s, because it sounds like Canon has got the development bug going again. Oh, what else? So Marlo's just posted something else. Looking to shoot my videos at the end of 2020, so no rush. Okay, so show. Well, okay, so Steen, I do not take swearing on my channel. I try to keep this as family as possible. If you disagree, then say you disagree. Use it without swearing, and I'm more than happy to show your comments. So I do try to keep this family channel. And guess what, guys? I am wrong from time to time. I'll admit that. Not everything I say is going to be 100%, but that's everybody, right? Now, the R6 and R5, if you wait 3 months, you're most likely, Marlo, going to have a good idea of whether, as Steen said, it's BS. But Craig over at Canon Rumors, he says he's got trusted sources. He's considered this fact. He's got a video now and photos that show the R5, R6. And he says the IBIS in it is amazing. So I would wait and see, and then I would compare the Canon to the Panasonics. And what I would do is I'd do a capability analysis, and I've got an example of what that looks like. I try to do this with most of my cameras or anything I purchase. Either I do it in my head or I do it like this. So here we go. So I had to do a video a couple of weeks ago, or last week. Again, I can't remember what day I did this. It was on the 24-105 f3.5 to 5.6, and I put that video out on February the 6th. So that was just a day before the other video. I'm doing about 6 videos a week now, so I just can't keep things straight anymore. Wow, and I just lost a lot of you. I guess nobody likes this kind of conversation, but I'm going to pull through it. If you guys don't like stuff too, let me know. Like if before you're about to leave, give me your honest opinion, because I am new to this and I really, really do appreciate your feedback. So if you don't like what I'm doing, if you think it's amateur hour, you don't like my lighting, anything, I can take feedback. I can take criticism, and it really does help me. As if you follow my channel and you see that I respond to comments, and you can see that my videos are slowly getting better, so I'm tweaking things as much as I can. So give me your honest feedback. So back to the capabilities. These are 3 what I would consider to be go-to lenses for the RF system. If you're more on the ordinary filmmaker, more economical. And I looked at, well, what do I want? What outcomes do I want from a lens? And I definitely want really good continuous autofocus. I want a zoom capability. I want good build quality, so I don't have to worry about, first of all, the thing falling apart after 5 or 10 years. I want it to be pretty able to produce good detail, for it to be sharp, to do both photo and video, and to have a wide enough aperture. So I look at these lenses here, and at first, if you're into zoom, wow, that 24 to 240 looks really, really good. And it does really good video, but it's not as sharp. It doesn't do well with photos. Continuous autofocus is pretty good. The build quality is pretty good. And for most entry-level guys, don't let these, gold yellow colors turn you off from this lens, because it is a very good lens. But for me, I really want the 24 to 105, because you know what? I do shoot when the weather turns south. Most of you, you're out there shooting your family, you're shooting your kids, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever it is, car shows. If the weather starts to turn south, you go inside. I don't, so I need that all-weather protection. I was just shooting my son, and it was -10, and it was snowing hard, and I took a chance. My lens is 8 years old, so I took a chance there. I'm pretty sure the 24 to 240 is f4 to 6.3. Well, let me take a look. I'm pretty sure it's 3.5 to 5.6, but then again, my memory's not the greatest. So let's do a quick check here. RF 24 to 240. Yeah, you are correct. So I made a mistake there. Let's see if I can quickly fix this. F4. And I love it when you guys do that. It doesn't really embarrass me too much, because if you have any idea how much goes into one of these videos, and I'm trying to crank them out pretty quickly so I don't lose relevance, I do make mistakes. So thank you very much for that. But I haven't even gotten to the aperture yet. So let's take a look at the 24 to 105. So we've got that all-weather. We've got really, really good sharpness in both photo and video. And here's the really, really good thing. We've got f4 from wide open all the way to zoomed in. And here's the problem you're going to get with any of these zooms. So the 24 to 105, f3.5 to 5.6, or the 24 to 240, is once you start to zoom just a little bit, in, you're almost at 5.6, 6.3, right? So going that 24 to 105, it's f4 all the way out. So in low light, it's going to perform better. And here's a little secret that you can do to get 8 times zoom. Because a lot of people say, well, 4 times zoom is not enough for me. Well, what if you could get 8 times zoom? You can. Shoot in 4K and downsample. Now, this is assuming you're going to produce in 1080p. And I'll be honest with you, 1080p is great for most people. If you shoot in 4K and then bring it down to 1080p, you can actually punch in by another optical factor of 2 times without losing any detail, giving you an 8 times zoom. So use some capability analysis, and that'll really tell you which is better, because I don't have a Canon tattoo. I have a bunch of Canon lenses, so that obviously kind of ties me to the system a little bit, which is the same for a lot of us. But I'm not married to it. I think Fuji makes great cameras. Sony makes great cameras. In fact, if I had unlimited funds, I'd probably be shooting with the Sony for my YouTube videos, because it does really good stuff inside. For my wedding shootings this year, sorry, I don't have my glasses, so I'm having trouble reading here. Full frame mirrorless camera with 4K 60 10-bit, take my money. I think you're talking about, well, there's a lot of options there. So, well, first of all, the GH series is out of the question. So if you're on Panasonic, you've got the glass won't move over to the S1 series, but you got the S1 and you got the S1H. The S1H is very, very expensive though. And the fan will make some noise. Sony, I'd be waiting for the A7S III. See, if I was a Sony fan, I wouldn't want to buy anything without knowing what that A7S III is going to be, because I think that would be my next camera. And if the R6 comes out and gives me 4K 60 10-bit 422 and all that, I'm not even going to wait to see what the A7S III does, because there's no news. I mean, throw us a bone, Sony. At least give us a development announcement, something to let us know that it's coming. Is it coming this year? I mean, we all expect it to be coming this year. We expected it to be coming last year. So I think as far as Canon goes, I wouldn't go with anything right now, because nothing really gives you the capabilities you're looking for. And let me ask you this, because 4K 60 10-bit 422, I assume you want 422, because 10-bit 422 doesn't necessarily mean just because you get 10-bit you get 422. Sometimes you can get 420. What is it you want? Why do you want that 4K 10-bit 60 frames per second? What outcomes are you looking to deliver? Alpha Media. That's because that's what I'd like to. I have a sense you know exactly what you want to do, but a lot of us we say, oh yeah, if the camera doesn't have 4K 60, I don't want it. Well, do you produce 4K videos? No? Okay. So why do you want it? Well, I want to grow into it. Well, okay, but when you're ready to grow into it, is that 4K going to be good enough that you'll be happy with it? Enter EOS R and RP. The 4K is a little soft. And remember how I said about the optical? You know, if you film at 4K, you have the ability to zoom in without losing detail. Well, the EOS R is soft enough that you can't really do that. You lose that detail as you zoom in a bit. So that's why I want to know your use cases. That would most likely be the R6. Yeah, I think the R6 is looking pretty good. Let's see. I think I've got another poll on what camera you guys are looking at getting. And I found some of this stuff to be very, very interesting. Yeah, let me show you this chart. It's not quite on the same subject. Will Canon turn around in 2020? So this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. I was really surprised. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. I think a majority of the people coming to my channel are Canon users. I seem to attract more Canon people than anybody else. And I've got a few slides here that would indicate that. But overwhelming majority of you believe that, yes, Canon's going to turn it around not only financially, but technologically. And it was a very small minority, only 13% of you that said there's no way they're going to turn it around technologically. And as far as not being able to turn it around financially, about 23%, 22%. But that's not what I wanted to show you. So let's go down here. So this one here, when I put out the video on the X100V, I said, are you interested in buying the Fujifilm? And I really wanted this to answer a couple of questions. One, are you a Fujifilm fan, or you were looking at something else? And 36% of you were really not looking to something Fuji. Now I know there's some. I didn't mention the XH2 or the XH1 on here, but I was kind of testing to see the relevance of the camera that I was discussing in relation to the views that I was seeing, because I didn't get many views on this. And you can see, look, very few people that were interested in buying a Fuji. Only 3% of those people were actually interested in the X100. Everybody else is waiting for the X-T4. And what do you guys think of the X-T4? It is an APS-C camera, and it doesn't mean that APS-C cameras produce poor results. They can produce really, really good results. If the X-T4 throws an IBIS, and that's what it's rumored to have, but if it throws an IBIS, now you have a lot more lenses that you can strap on that thing for video. You've got your stabilization. And if they kind of tweak everything else, make it better, so for example, the I was going to say zebras, but focus peaking. What if they improve that? They make the lines thicker so you can see it outside. Would you guys consider the X-T4? I think Fuji makes some really good bodies there. Okay, let's take a look at the comments again. I think that would have a mount compatible with the RF and EF lenses. Is this rumor true? Saw one on Tony's videos. So Jane, let me see this again. I think that it will have a mount compatible with the RF and EF lens. Sorry, what is that in relation to, Jan? So I can answer your question properly. Okay. So one thing I want to open up to discussion as well is the R5 and R6. Do you guys really think that Canon is turning things around here? A year ago, January the 8th, one of their senior executives was having an interview, and they simply came out and said that, yes, we're working on 8K. It's in our current roadmap. They didn't just say roadmap. And it was in reference to the RF system. It wasn't talking about their cinema line. Because let's be honest, let's look at their cinema line. Where are you going to find 8K? Doing 8K in any sort of cinema broadcast television is very, very expensive. But to be fair, those cameras, the camera only makes a small portion of it. You'll see that they're often this huge, right? And this much of it is the lens, because those lenses have to do some incredible stuff. So those cameras are measured in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I've also said to people too that just because they put 8K in a DSLR or mirrorless camera, and it's not going to be in a DSLR, it's going to be in the mirrorless camera, just because you can do that doesn't mean it's going to have the same quality as a cinema camera. As you can tell by this shirt, oh, it's over here. As you can tell by this shirt, I am a huge fan of the Amiga personal computer, which came out in the early mid-1980s. And the reason why I love that computer, and yes, it is relevant, it was the first computer, personal computer, home computer, to make video editing affordable to the home user. Prior to that, if you want to do any sort of video editing, that was broadcast quality, and what it meant back then is you could actually take the output from that computer and broadcast it on network television. You didn't have to do anything to sync the clock rates or anything. The computer's natural clock rate was perfect for broadcast television. So prior to then, you were looking at least $100,000 in equipment. This computer made it so that you could do it for $5,000 or $6,000. Probably need another $5,000 or $6,000 on hard drives back then as well. And it wasn't non-linear, meaning you couldn't edit on things like this. You basically would have stacks of hard drives and tape players, and it really revolutionized video. Camera companies need to integrate computation. Yes. Okay, so Marlo, it's almost like you're channeling what I said in my video yesterday. If we go back and take a look at that slide again, because it's lying. Here's another problem I have with that slide that shows the declining camera sales. And it's really just a big lie, and I'll explain why. I would say that the graph is actually just continuing to go up. What has happened is, and Samsung was very smart here, Samsung decided, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get out of this declining market. This is a dead end for me in terms of revenue, because Samsung's a multi-billion-dollar company. They don't want to mess around with a couple of $100 million. So what Samsung decided is, hey, I'm going to go into smartphones. So they came out with smartphones, and they started improving on the cameras in these smartphones. And now almost all of us use the cameras on our smartphones. Even myself, who has a nice DSLR, I don't always have it with me. So just yesterday, I was using my iPhone to shoot video. So the sales have continued to go up, 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 and up. And this is not a new one. But the new ones have really taken to computational power, which is what Marlo has said. And even though there's no way on earth you're going to be able to do depth of field with a lens like this, you cannot. And no, you can't. No matter what Apple says, you cannot do that, because the sensor's so small. It's just impossible. They call it an f2, but when you actually use the crop ratio to actually counteract that, it's not an f2. It's not even close. It's more like an f12 or f16. It's some ridiculous number, or f8. But what they're doing is they're using the ARM-based processor in here. It can shoot 4K 60, the new ones. It can... burst mode, it's insane what it can do in burst mode, and it chooses the best picture, it adjusts the brightness and contrast. It does all of this live. It does a very, very good job. And it's using that computational power to be able to deliver that. And that's what's really, really amazing. Yet, when Sony came out with 4K, yep, we have 4K, and everybody said, wow, the 4K is amazing. A few weeks, a few months later, all of a sudden, yeah, my Sony's overheating. I've yet to see a smartphone overheat, Apple or Samsung, shooting 4K video. It might run out of space, but it does not overheat. Reason why? They're using low power consumption ARM processors that are designed to work in a very, very thin body. So I do believe, yes, you can get DSLRs and mirrorless cameras to do 4K 60, 4K 120 without overheating. Just change your architecture. Use ARM-based processors. Optimize them. You're like Apple. You're producing the hardware and you're producing the software. So use that computational power. So when you see depth of field from an iPhone 11, I think it is, that's all simulated. It's not real. It's using computational power. You don't have to bring it into Photoshop or their app and tweak around with it. You just go tap on the button and it's done. It's there for you. It's so easy. So you've got the ease of use with the computational power, and that's why they've taken off. How much is an iPhone now? You can spend almost $2,000 on one. Samsung's a little better. Well, Samsung's a lot better if you're going to shoot video, because at least you can remove those SD cards, right, and record your video onto them. It's still not as easy as putting it into a a camera where you can just easily pop it in and out. I think on some of these cameras, you have to open it up, and it's not very convenient. So very, very good comment, Marlo. So this is from Liam. I honestly think Sony is going to make the same mistake Canon did when they stopped... Okay, when their sales fee. Well, so this is what I also said in my video, and you guys might want to watch this. I don't remember when this happened. I think it was around 2003, 2002, but digital camera sales were very, very slow. And I want to show you this image again, because this shows you how bad digital camera sales were back in 2003. Look at that. It's a rounding error. And if you look at that in comparison to... all cameras at the time, look at that. It's nothing, right? Canon was able to produce a sensor. They just came out with a sensor, and it produced amazing results. And Canon started to take off. And then Nikon started producing really good DSLRs, and then Nikon took off for about 3 years. Then Canon came back. Canon strikes back in 2008 with the 5D Mark II. Don't get me wrong, the 5D Mark I was also terrific too. The CMOS sensor they put in that camera was incredible. And people started watching Canon. Canon rumor sites started popping up. People started watching Canon and eagerly awaiting new bodies. The Mark II came out. Oh my God, now look at this video that I can produce. I can produce professional quality video in a DSLR 1080p. At the time, 1080p was very difficult to do on computers as well. To have that power, just like 4K is today. And people waited the Mark III, the Mark IV, and it's like Canon. And that's when the cripple hammer came out. I don't even have a hammer here. I should be like Casey Neistat. I should be able to pull a camera, a sledgehammer, a radial saw, whatever it is. I should have it in arm's reach. But the Canon cripple hammer just came out, and I don't know what Canon's strategic vision was back then, but it was not about innovating. No matter what they said, they were in a cash preservation, 50% market share. Let's just milk this horse. Let's milk this cow of what it's worth. And they did for a long time. And I think, look, how long has it been now? We've been complaining about Canon. And not just photo and video. We've been complaining, it's almost 10 years. So what's happened in that 10 years? Well, look what Sony's done. They've done incredible jobs with the Alpha. They came out with the S1, the S2. Hi, Mauricio. Good to see you back, buddy. The S3, which is supposed to come out, the A7 III. These are really, really incredible cameras, and the lenses are very good too. Panasonic, that GH series, look at them start off with mirrorless when most companies were trying to figure out how to do DSLRs. So very forward thinking. Panasonic did a really great job. The S1, I waited on every rumor that was going to be my next camera. I said, look, I want a full-frame GH5 with autofocus fixed, like a lot of you out there. Autofocus wasn't fixed. I wasn't going to spend $4,000 on a camera that couldn't do autofocus. Depth, the name, depth from defocus. I mean, that says it all. You have to defocus it to get focus. When I looked at the first videos on the S1, and it drove me insane, I really wanted that camera. I would start to feel a little, not almost headachy, but my eyes were sore, and I was trying to figure out what it was, and I didn't realize until a few days later. People said, no, this is terrible. Look at the pulsing in the video. So I went back and looked at those early videos, and if I was looking at the person's face, I didn't have a problem, right? Looks good. But if I moved my eyes to the background, what I could constantly see was just minor pulsing. And that, my eyes were seeing that. It was giving me a bit of a headache because the face was in focus, or it appeared, but I got this pulsing, which was really irritating. And Fuji, look what Fuji's done too. But you'll see that they'll innovate for 3 or 4 years, and then they take a nap. They hibernate. So let's see if I have that quote from Canon, because these guys are really starting to think. Where is it? Come on, take me to my comment. No, that's not it. To drive, or I'll just have to summarize it, because I like to show you guys comments so you can see that I'm just not making stuff up. So I don't have it. So what the quote was, he goes on to say that, yes, this is the one with the 8Ks on the roadmap, but he also said that, and we're going to continue, and it's not just the camera bodies themselves, that they're going to continue they're going to develop lenses for the RF system that keep video in mind as well. Then there was their financial announcement, and in their financial announcements, this was really strange, because usually companies, they just give you just a little bit, just enough to be honest with shareholders, but not enough to give things away. They came out and said, yeah, look, this is what we're doing. We know we're behind, even with these 2 cameras and even with 10 lenses. And yes, look, Canon has managed to get out 10 lenses in the last year and a half for the RF system. That's incredible. And there's another 8 that's supposed to be coming out this year. So they're really starting to produce. And we got the rumors, or we got the information, the financial statement. We also had the development announcement from Canon. Now look at Canon's announcement and Nikon's announcement. Nikon's announcement was more or less like announcing a new Ferrari, where it's shot in a black room and all they do is highlight the shape. You can't see any detail. And that's what the D6 was, whereas Canon says, yeah, we're going to give you 4K 10-bit 422 internal log recording, C-log, and it went on. And it was like, and we're all thinking, yeah, cripple hammer, where's that thing going to strike? Their actual announcement, specifications, were very, very close to the mark. Yes, 4K 60 was cripple, but with a small little, like, miner's hammer. They said, yeah, you don't get autofocus in 4K 60. And we all jumped on that, but really the truth of the matter was, if you're willing to accept a 1.15 crop, you get autofocus. Okay, full sensor readout? Come on, let's be fair. That's we can work with that. 1.15 crop, we can work with that. So the actual was actually very similar to the development announcement. So when we look at all those little bits of evidence, and this is what I call, yes, circumstantial evidence, and we look at what Canon rumors are saying, yes, circumstantial evidence, yes, he has physical evidence, but we can't see it. And I got jumped on for this yesterday. Yes, I'm talking a little bit about Canon. I'm talking about everything. I got jumped on this yesterday. People say, well, that's why you're not a professional, because, you should know that they didn't give you the video to protect the source. Well, yes, I kind of knew that, but I'm trying to make the video interesting. And I did talk to Craig at Canon Rumors, and I know why he didn't give that out. And yes, that is the reason. He wants to protect his source, because if he released even a blurred image of that video, the people at Canon would know who did it. Right? So, back to my point. So much information has come out from Canon through rumors or actual through executives that indicate that Canon is ready to embark on another 3 years of developments. So that's why I think if you're waiting, like Marlo, you were talking about what you want to get, whether it's Panasonic or Canon, wait a couple of months. Let's see what's coming out. Let's see if Canon truly is just, starting up their engines again. They're going to go full steam ahead because I think it might be a very exciting platform. The lenses are certainly exciting. I'm excited. And I know this is called the ordinary filmmaker. And for a lot of you guys that, no matter how much these cameras cost, you're saving up. This is not something you can just easily pull out of your bank account. I get that. That's me as well. I only just started getting monetized a couple of months ago, and I'm only making like $200 a month, so which is enough for a body a year, and I'm thankful for that. But over the last years, I've been saving every month $50 to $100. I put into a bank account to buy my new camera. So I'll have money for the camera, and I really want to get that 24 to 105, and I can afford that. But that 15 to 35, I'm pretty sure I won't be able to get that because I think it's going to be too expensive for the body. So let's take a look at some more comments here. All right, so let's see. Jewel, I don't understand why Nikon Z6 is selling so poorly. I'll get to that in a sec. Caravan, if the A7S III also comes out, then which one is honestly recommended me to buy? Okay, I really want to address this one here because this is important. And I want to bring up this other image again that I have. Let's see, I'll put the slide in so I can easily see. So where's Keynote? There we go. And if you guys hate Macs, I do apologize. I just have one, so I'm not going to get into that whole PC thing because this is not about Windows or PCs or anything like that. This is what you want to do. I can't do this right now because it's rumors. We need actual specifications. So what you want to do is right at the top here, you want to do this. See, A7S III. And the other one is EOS R. I'll just say RF for now, okay? I mean, it could be the R5, R6, whatever it is. I think most likely it's probably going to be this kind of alignment here. And what you want to do is you want to then say, okay, what outcomes? Not specifications, not features. And I want to look you guys in the eyes when I say this. And I wish I could swear right here, but camera companies, technology companies, stores, they want to sell you on the specifications. They want to sell, yeah, I got stuff here. They want to sell you on what it says on the box. And that will get you into buying stuff you just don't want. What you want to do is, first of all, and just blank sheet of paper, or I'm using the equivalent of PowerPoint here, just draw little boxes and say, what do I want out of this? So for example, for me, it doesn't matter whether I'm doing YouTube, because I have two primary use cases. YouTube, not vlogging, but YouTube, where the camera is fixed, and run and gun work with my family. So two very different use cases. And what I absolutely have to have is reliable, trustworthy autofocus. So when we look at this first box here, that's important to me. That is a mandatory capability. And then at the bottom, I'll say, well, it's something simple. I usually have 3 different values. It has it, for example, and it does it very, very well, or it does it okay, or it doesn't do it at all, or it's next to, I was going to swear there, sorry, it's next to being poor. So you lay out all these capabilities you want. So for me, I wanted lens stabilization, and I really kind of wanted IBIS too. But the whole purpose of that is because I'm shooting video, and with video, you want to have a very, very smooth picture. Upstairs, I have a glide cam. They're amazing. But do you know how many times I'm walking around with my camera and I just happen to have my glide cam in my hand? Yeah. The only time I'm using my glide cam is when I'm planning on using my glide cam. Yesterday, I didn't have my glide cam and I didn't have my Canon 70D. I had my iPhone, so I was able to take video with my iPhone and I captured the moment. Really, the best camera is the camera that you have at the moment. And that's why these things are really good, because it saved my bacon yesterday. So some of the other capabilities that are important to me, that I think are important to most ordinary filmmakers, is, well, I want high detail, not sharpness. Okay, sharpness is something I want in the lens, but I want detail. So if the camera, the sensor, isn't capable of capturing detail, then it doesn't matter what the lens can do. So I need a camera capable of producing detail, and I want that high detail in 4K, because what I use 4K for is making things interesting and saving myself time. And I did a video several weeks ago. You can go find it, and it's really good. Like, I've got some cinematics of me flying over the lake and the mountains and the islands, and I have another scene of the leaves, the forest as they're changing. I'll see if I can find that one. Or actually, I'll challenge one of you guys to see if you can find it. It's about, you can see it says 4K right on the image art. And I have 3 different scenes, and one with my son in the backyard. Now, the one with my son in the backyard, he's just playing with leaves. And if you're a parent, yeah, you can stare at that for hours. But it's honestly, it's boring. So how do I make that more appealing cinematically? Well, I come from different angles, right? I zoom in, I punch in, but that means me setting up and redoing, and hopefully he stays sit for that amount of time. And he won't, right? So what I did is I used my drone, because my Canon 70D can't shoot 4K. I used my drone and I filled him, and it stabilized, which is really nice. The drones are really a mobile aerial camera. They're really good. And I shot at him. I didn't move. I shot at him, just holding the spot. Then when I brought it into editing, and I used Final Cut, I brought it into editing. And at first I shot wide, so it gives perspective. There he is, this little kid, and some leaves in the big backyard. And then I punched in, I zoomed right in on him. My project is 1080p. So the advantage that I have is that 4K is super sharp, and when I punch in by a factor of 2, it's still sharp. And then I punch out, or I come in from, I use this side. Let me see if I can line up with your screen here. I shoot from this angle here. Or then it's over at this side here, and I've got this 4K frame to work with. So that is why I want high details, not because I want 4K, because you can get cameras like the EOS R, I was almost going to buy, until I heard it was soft 4K. Well, I lose that ability to punch in. No longer interested, right? Slow motion. I want slow motion in 1080p. I want 120, because what 120 gives you is that buttery smooth slow motion. So even if you have IBIS, or even if you don't, if you're, let's say, on a boat and that boat is moving fast, let's say 60 miles an hour, 100K, this is what is happening. It's like watching Star Trek Enterprise when it's getting shot at. People are jumping around. You shoot in 120 at that speed, and now it's kind of like this. And when you're putting together a film, quite often you're just grabbing a couple of seconds here and there. So if things are moving a little bit like this, it's not as distracting. So you take that 120, you slow it down, now you've got some stable footage. So that was one scenario. The other scenario is when I was flying over the islands. I think I went at about 3K, and based on the wind conditions, based on everything I knew at the time, I knew I wasn't going to make it over to that island. But I knew I was shooting in 4K, and that I had a 2x optical zoom that I could pull because my project was in 1080p. So it looks like I'm right up close and on top of the island. So that was another example. So 4K is a great capability. So back to your question. Yes, I'm taking a while to answer it, but I'm trying to give you a full understanding of why it's important to look at the capabilities. Write out all the capabilities you want. And then color code them. Keep it simple. Don't do 1 to 10. Do 0 to 3, or 1, 2, and 3. Do something simple, or red, green, and blue. Or traffic lights, right? Red, orange, green. Very simple. And compare the two. Compare the A7S III, right? Compare the A7S III to the R6. And then maybe just have another page where you say, okay, these ones are my mandatory capabilities. And you're going to be able to answer your question yourself. What I will do is, when they are all announced, I'll do it myself. I'll compare the A7S III to the R6 to the R5 to the X-T4. This is going to be incredible stuff. I did this comparing the Canon 90D to the EOS R. It's one of my first videos. It's one of my most popular videos. And it's terrible. The audio's bad, the video's bad, but it was like my third video. And I did the same thing because I thought, well, do I want the 90D or do I want the EOS R? Yes, one's a full frame and one's an APS-C. And no, you can't compare those, but you can. You can compare anything. And it was in terms of results. And it helped me realize that the 90D is a much better camera for the ordinary filmmaker and produces better results. It's much better as a video camera. All right, let's see what else we have here. So Caravan, long answer, but hopefully that benefited everybody else. You understand the purpose of thinking outcomes, the results you want rather than the features. For example, that to be able to punch in, that requires like 5 different features to make it happen. I have a Canon M100. I'm worried about the future of the EF M mount, or otherwise known as the M mount to a lot of people. Thinking of buying the Sigma 30mm f1.4 EFM. Not a plug. Coca-Cola, if you want to sponsor me, I'll take it. But no, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I've got 2,000 subscribers. And actually, last week on my live stream, I lost 2 subscribers. So I'm doing something wrong on the live stream. If you are invested in the M mount, don't worry. There's a lot of lenses out there. And I feel like with M mount people, I almost need to pull them aside, put my arm around them and say, look, these are the facts of life. You're never going to be able to take any of those lenses and move them over to any other mount system. You're not going to be able to bring them up to the RF mount. It's physically impossible. The flange focal distance, so that's the distance between the sensor and the mount, it makes it physically impossible. You'd actually have to drill into the bodies. Or I think with the RF mount, it's like 0.75 millimeters. They're not going to do it. You're not going to get that adapter. I say never. I don't think they'll create an adapter to allow you to do that. So you have to realize that for every new lens you buy for the M mount, you got to ask yourself, in terms of your roadmap, are you going to be owning this M100 for a long time? Because those lenses that you buy for it aren't going to work with anything else. And I know some of you are getting ready to write this. However, if you buy EF lenses for your M100, and there's an adapter for that, I think it's $170. If you do decide at a later date to go to the RF system, and if you stick with Canon, that's very, very possible, you can get their adapter. And Canon's adapters on the RF system are incredible. It's like they're not even there. They just work so very well. Unlike the Nikon FTZ mount. Yes, I'll get to the Z6 in a little bit. I might run over a little bit, so I just want to make sure I get all your questions that you've asked so far. You can take any of those EF lenses and bring them over to the RF system. You can also bring over the EFS lenses as well, but you're probably not going to be too happy with the results. So that's what I would consider, Liam. Ask yourself, how long are you going to stay with the M100? It won't be a problem in able to find the lenses. If you're going to stick with it 5 years or more, then yeah, consider the Sigma 30mm f1.4. But like I said, if you think you might eventually want to go to this RF system, you'll be much happier with yourself if you buy EF glass. So that being said, Nikon. I think I know why the Z6 isn't doing as well. And yeah, the Z6 is a great camera. I love it. I did a video on it. I did a video comparing the Z6 twin, evil twin. How many of you know that Nikon produced an evil twin to the Z6? Sorry, I'm Canadian, eh? So I kind of say Z instead of Z. It's the British in me. I'm also British as well. So Z6 or Z7, but the Z6 or the Z6 is the one that's more for video. The D780 is a DSLR equivalent of the Z6. And this is what I find really strange. Most companies, like Canon, are producing mirrorless versions of their DSLRs. Nikon's going the other way, and I know why Nikon's doing this. They produce a DSLR version of the Z6. So there's several reasons why the Z6 is doing terribly, and it's not based on its capabilities. The FTZ adapter, that is a piece of garbage. It's totally rubbish. And no, it's not totally rubbish, but so many of you have complained how poorly it does autofocus. And when you can't trust something, when it's not reliable, you're not going to bother. So if you're a Nikon user, and I think that's a large part of who's attracted by the Z6, If you're a Nikon user, all that glass, F-mount glass, yep, I just threw it in the trash. It's useless to me. However, the D780, sorry, I took it out of the trash. I'm not going to throw away a lens. The D780, I can use all my F-mount glass. So that's a big problem. I'd like to get some Nikon execs in the room. This is where I should do one of those Casey's, what was Nikon thinking, and do a green screen and act it out. But people are leaving you. Everyone in the, and here, let me show you this poll again about how many people think that Nikon is not going to be around. And that's another reason too. If you don't think a company's going to be around, do you want to bother investing in their glass? No. And so for a lot of people who are willing to look at another brand because they don't have a lot of lenses, but if you're willing to jump ship, are you going to jump ship to a company that pretty much everybody thinks isn't going to be around much longer? No. And then as a strategic decision, you come up with a product. And the FTZ is very, very strategic. It helps people take your existing glass. Nikon is like Canon. They have a ton of glass. It allows you to take that glass and bring it over to the new mirrorless mount. So what do? You build it so it's rock solid. You're the manufacturer of both the glass and the camera body. How hard is it to make that work? Look at the speed boosters. They have a little bit of trouble, but they kind of have to reverse engineer one platform to another. I get that. You're Nikon, for God's sakes. You're Nikon. You produce the body, you produce the lenses, and you couldn't make an adapter that's not 100% reliable and trustworthy? So I think that's why the Z6 is in trouble. I honestly do. It's sad. It really is. Nikon is not showing us that they want to be around much longer. And the D6, where is it? It's supposed to be coming out this year. It will come out. They'd be shooting themselves in the foot if they release the D6 after the Olympics. This is Japan. They have the Tokyo Olympics. All the major camera companies are Japanese. Canon's thrown the gauntlet down. Here's what we've got in it. Here's when it's coming out. They've announced it. It's coming out. It's going to be here in a couple of weeks. Nikon just can't sit around and not do anything. So I think that's a big fear with Nikon. All right. Have I missed anything else here? So I've talked to the EF mount, the EFM mount, the A7S3. I have no doubt that the A7S3 is going to be a truly amazing camera. But, I can't say go with the A7S3 or the EOS R2, which will probably be the R6. All I can just say is wait. Neither camera's out yet. Once they're out, do a capability analysis, and that'll really help you determine which is the best one for you. Well, guys, we've come up to the end of an hour. I think I've answered all your questions. I'm just taking a look through to see if there's anything I've missed. I'll take one more last question if you've got it. I'll just wait around one more minute, and I'll check my slides to see if there's anything else. Oh, yeah, I got one more in here. I want your feedback. I've gotten some good feedback on my last video. Somebody said that I need to get some professional lighting. I don't think it's a problem. I got the professional lighting. I just may not have things set up properly for my studio area. I've got two lights right on me. Color temperature is 5600. I've got one on the green screen, and I think the green screen is the biggest problem for me because I can't produce that really, really nice set that Think Media and others have. And I think that's my biggest problem right now. But honestly, I can't afford a couple of $1,000s to build out a studio here. And the rest of my house has hardwood, so the audio acoustics are terrible. So I'm stuck in the basement. And my green screen there is what allows me to at least produce something. So I'm holding off on that. I've reduced the... Hey, Montana, good to see you, buddy. I think this is your first comment today. Sony's roadmap has changed due to the virus. No views from Sony on the camera this year. Oh, no. That's a lame excuse. Montana, were you here when I put up my slide? Let me show you this slide I had earlier. I did it. I was getting ready to do a happy birthday for Sony for the A7S3. It's been 5 years. Sorry, the A7S2 is really, it's 5 years, but we've been waiting 5 years for the A7S3. How's that? They're now gonna use a virus as an excuse to wait another year. That's ridiculous. Yeah, there may be a bit more depth of field in your videos. I'll take a look at that later today. I'm going to play around with a few settings. It is a little sharper if you look at my last one. And here's what I'm doing with depth of field. That background that I have, believe it or not, I'm using a Gaussian blur to simulate the depth of field. My Canon 50 1.2 can produce really good depth of field, but because all I'm doing is shooting to a background, the only thing you're getting any sort of blur on is my face. So I'm simulating distance with a Gaussian blur. And I also brought up the brightness a bit so it's not as dark. But yeah, keep giving me your comments. I've also been working with a teleprompter recently because I want to make sure, I want to reduce the amount of mistakes I say, and now, and all that stuff. So that's why I use a teleprompter. It allows me to really perfect what I'm trying to say. It allows me to do it really well. And I actually have a mic now that connects right into here. Another boom mic sits in front of me, so this will actually scroll at the speed I speak, and it allows me to go off. So if I'm reading it going like, oh, I forgot to say this, I can stop reading off the teleprompter and read ad lib. And so it's allowing me to produce a better message. But I know the look and feel, it's still a little bit amateurish. I am trying to work on it. No, Montana, I get you. I know it's from Sony, but it's just, really, guys? Really? And I get it. Look, the coronavirus is probably a whole lot worse than we're led on to believe. From everything I've heard, it sounds a whole lot less dangerous than the flu. I mean, tens of thousands of people die from the flu every year. But I think we're being kept in the dark a little bit on what this is, and some information starting to leak out saying it's actually a whole lot worse than it is. But yeah, if Sony lets it go another year, I think they'll turn into Canon. They'll start just minor upgrades. The Sony I'm saying this wrong, A7 IV, from a video point of view, there's nothing there to make me excited about it. Now, look, and we shouldn't really dog the A7 IV because it's a high megapixel camera. So that means it's perfect for certain use cases. A high megapixel camera, you can't expect it to do really good video or other things. It's not meant for that. Same with, if you want to do really, really good video, you're looking at something like the A7 II, which has a low megapixel camera, right? So unless you want to put multiple sensors, there's going to be a trade-off. You can't have the complete perfect camera, but you can have the camera that's perfect for you. So that's what I'm saying. Understand your use cases, understand your capabilities, and find the best camera for you. And by the way, guys, I've got actually 12 people watching right now, which is the highest amount I've ever had. I'm going to keep doing these once a week, and the primary agenda for these is not as nearly as funny as last week with what's that guy on HBO? I forgot his name, but it's basically a week in review. I'll talk about the videos I produced. I'll talk about what's new in the news, and if there's time, I'll talk about the next week ahead. So yeah, things are looking interesting. But guys, that brings us to a close of another week. Stay tuned. I keep you guys up to date on videos as they come out. Take a look. I produced 6 different videos this week. A lot of information there. One last one from Montana. Where I stand, I think Canon will steal a lot of market share this year. You know what, Montana? If the R6 and R5s truly are what we believe them to be, I think you're right. And most of my viewers are feeling the same way. 49%, in a recent poll, 49% of you said that they're confident in the latest rumors on the R5 and R6. The other 49%, not sure. Only one person said it's a total load of solid waste. Oh, Canon Rumors has just joined us. Hey, Craig, so good to... I'm quite honored that you'd show up on my channel. Thanks a lot for showing up. Guys, Canon Rumors has just made a guest appearance on our channel here. Yeah, thanks so much. That means a lot to me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more of what might be coming out this week. We're all kind of on the edge of our seats here. I just was talking about a recent poll about the rumors coming out, and you can see, other than my poor grammar and spelling here, we're starting to, all of us, feel very, very confident of what's coming out. And you're so lucky to actually able to see the videos. I'm kind of envious, but thanks a lot for showing up. Well, guys, that is it for another week. These will be weekly. I've lost my words now. See, this is why I use this thing here, so I don't have to worry about losing my words. This will be a weekly live stream. The agenda is mostly an hour. I will cover topical stuff that has happened in the week, and I'll talk about stuff that's coming up. Also, what you should do too is not just watch me as my videos come out, but you also should pay close attention to Canon Rumors, because he's keeping me busy. There's so much coming out. I don't post everything that he does because it's just impossible. I have a day job, but I do capture all the major stuff. So keep us both in your eyeballs, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks a lot for showing up, guys. Have a good week. Cheers. Bye-bye.